All right, guys, sorry about that. Thanks for logging on, and let's get to it. So it's been a while since I've been on here. It's good to be back. It's kind of interesting times that we're dealing with, and everybody seems to have their opinion on where things are going to go and where the virus is going to peak and where the market's going to bottom, and everybody just seems to think, at least the way it seems like people are talking, that they've kind of got it all figured out. And just scrolling as I've scrolled through fake face, not fake, but Facebook posts and just kind of sitting back and reading what people have to say. A friend of mine that is convinced that we have peaked or close to peaking in new cases of the coronavirus in the US. And I'm just not sure. I'm not sure about that. So I kind of want to go through those numbers. But let me put the question to you guys. We'll talk about, I guess, the market and where we're at here in a little while. What do you guys think as far as this pandemic goes? Have we peaked, or are we close to peaking in the US? What do you guys think? Scribble in there on your chat. Let me know. And I'm realizing, since I'm not the organizer, I'm not seeing any of the answers, which is kind of lame. Kevin, if you're on there, would you please see if you can give me an idea of what people are typing in? What are some of the replies? All right, so I see that there's some replies, some not, some good answers. Bear with me, guys, as we kind of transfer over some of the questions and answers. So most of you are saying, don't think so, not sure, doesn't look like it. Lance, you are kind of going against the grain. You're kind of agreeing with this assessment that I've come across, that we are kind of getting close to peaking here. All right, so let me just go over some of the numbers. Now, the argument is we're close because Europe has pretty much has already peaked and is on the downtrend. So let's look. You can kind of see this graph, not graph, spreadsheet. Italy, 4,000 today, new cases. And I had, let me just see if United Kingdom, let's go back. Oh, so we have it here. It said it was going to reset these numbers, so I had a bunch of screenshots all ready and lined up, but it looks like we might be able to just go through and check this out. So US. Getting kind of to a point where it looks like it's maybe leveling off, but at the US for 23,000, 3 more thousand cases today versus this is March 30th of 20,000. So that's shot up a bit here. So no, I mean, if we're just looking at daily daily new cases here in the US, and I would not say that's a peak. It's still trending up. Let's go back. So the basis of the argument was, well, Europe is peaking. Europe has peaked. It's on the downtrend. Italy's kind of front running the rest of Europe, so it might be different. Peaked at 6,500 cases, kind of moved around. Does certainly look like it is on a downtrend. If the last 3 or 4 days is to be believed. And Italy, that's probably accurate. We're not so sure and have some serious doubt about China's numbers, just based on how easily we in the US have surpassed their total cases. Kind of ignoring China because it's worthless information. Spain. Let's look at Spain. Daily new cases. 7967. You see on the screenshot of the page before here. New cases. I mean, if you're looking at these 4 days here, peaked at 8,200, came down to 6,800. We haven't seen a peak in all reality. Come back up quite a bit. 78 versus today 79. So I don't think we're quite there with Spain, but maybe you can make an argument that it's only a little behind Italy. Let's go back. Germany. 4,900 new cases today. Daily new 4,900. So it's high up at 69, come down a bit. We'll kind of be in this range when this today is calculated and put in there. So maybe you can make an argument there for Germany, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily too much better than Spain. It's obviously going up from this point. But maybe you could make the argument there. It's not on the downtrend. The only one so far that really you could say is trending down is Italy. France. Up 7,500 today on the 30th, 4,300. Not even close. I mean, this is going to be, you can see my mouse is going to be way up here. Not seeing it. Really, the only one you can say is down, really on the downtrend base on this bar chart is Italy. Spain, you might be, and Germany, you might say, oh, they're starting to peak, maybe. We're getting close. France, we're not there yet. Still heading up. Let me get out of the drawings here. Let's just check the UK, up 3,000 today. So today will be their worst. They're still technically on an uptrend. Let's go back to the US. New York had a big influx today and had their highest increase in total deaths, or in deaths from a daily perspective. That's 23K. No, we're still trending up. So Lance, if you agreed with that, maybe you didn't buy the whole Europe side of it, but maybe you're thinking this is somewhat a leveling off. But if you throw in 23, what was 20,000 that looked like it's kind of leveling off is going to be way up here, jumping up to 23K. So I'm not sure where that idea is getting confirmed. It doesn't look like, from the numbers that we're getting, we're pretty much peaked, and cases are starting to go down. And that was what I read. That's what I saw was claimed, that even with all of the new testing and all of that coming in, that we've pretty much peaked in the US, and we'll probably have more deaths, but new cases will start to go down. It certainly hasn't shown that yet. So I'm going to say the numbers have not confirmed that. Europe is not, also I'll say, also not on the downtrend yet. So I think this brings me to the next point. Do you try and outguess where the numbers are going to go, or do you wait to confirm? I understand wanting to be an optimist, and hopefully in a few days it does look like we're getting there. Hopefully by the end of the week we're seeing more numbers come down in Italy, and flattening and coming down in some of the other European countries we've noticed, we looked at. Hopefully it looks like it's flattening out in the US. But if we're trying to, I guess my point is, guys, if we're trying to take the information and get some sort of handle on where things are going in the future. I just don't see that we're peaking yet. I don't see that. Yeah, these numbers contradict those claims. Claims that cases in New York has started to slow down. I just don't see that anywhere. Yeah. I wish I could go and show you kind of what was said. That way it would make more sense, but I don't want to throw a Facebook friend under the bus. But I did think it was important to kind of look at how things are progressing on a daily basis to refute trying to front run or be overly optimistic, especially since the death toll will continue to go up even after new cases start to slow down and come down. Those are kind of more leading indicators where obviously the deaths are following in some percentage behind that. So I guess it kind of goes with what we're looking at with the S&P 500. Everybody is looking and excited that looks like we bottomed and it's starting to head up. I would think it's that same kind of mentality, whether, you know, whatever numbers you're going off of, whatever reasoning you have, why are we trying to outguess where the market or infection numbers or whatever are going? Why are we doing that? Why don't we wait and confirm? So if I'm looking and trying to recommend what to do as far as a trade or how to trade through this period, here are some thoughts. Let's say you have 10K. Oops. You're wanting to make something off of this market. Let's say you put in 25% right now. That's still 20% off of our highs on the market. Let's just say you went and got a leap or shares of SPY, put in 25% now. That leaves you room for the entire year, where if it struggles here and goes down to test our bottom down at 22-ish hundred on the SPX, you can put 25% more in. Dollar cost average with 25% more. That leaves you the ability to do it again if it falls through that bounce level. Well, obviously that leaves you 50% more. So let's say it falls another 30%. I'm going to say DCA, and we'll know that's dollar cost average with 25% more on a 10% drop from the bottom, we'll say. I don't want an @ sign, I want a $sign. That leaves you more room for the rest of the year where you can decide where you add the last 25%. So if I'm looking out for the year to try and profit from this, let's say you have 10K in cash, 25% at around prices now. Let's go look at the SPY since that's what we're really talking about. ETF. Let's go off of these numbers. At about 260. We'll say 255 because it looks like it might head down a little bit tomorrow. So let's say you put 25% in, that leaves you to see if it comes back down a bit to test the bottom, or even if it just comes down a little bit, let's say to 240 or whatever. You're legging into the process. And if it doesn't hold that bottom at 25%, adding dollar cost averaging 25% more, you add that to see if it has a 10% drop from there at 220. Leaves you with another 25% to see what you need to do for the rest of the year. So that leaves you in a better position if it only comes up a little bit, or if it just gets back to, let's say, the 300-ish range. You can go through your math, decide where your break even is, but that is one way to look at it, and one way to not try and outguess where things are going with the stock market if you're wanting to try and put some cash to work. Now, what do we like to do? What do we always talk about? What do you guys know we talk up and love and do? And let me just go through some numbers on Disney. Fell from 145. If you go up here, we'll say around 140. We just recently dollar cost average for our clients in Disney without hundreds, without asking for more money. And I know some of you are going, we've been over this, we get it. But this is where it really happens. And this is real money, real investment, and a real example of where what we're doing works. Just added hundreds of shares without asking for more money. What did we do? So if you've been listening to what Kevin has talked about the last few weeks, you know, we missed a Monday where it dropped and we had to get things on the Tuesday where we're waiting. But we had 131 puts. We doubled up on puts to make a little more as it was breaking through key support levels pretty quick. Trying to remember off the top of my head. Why don't we just go to move this. Let's look up Disney. So you can see where we bought more shares, several hundreds and hundreds across several accounts here. Some of this will look redundant, but we had let's go back a bit. We had some short calls where we booked profit on credit when it came down. Let's see. 31. This is a lot of orders going through, so it's kind of let's see. Don't want to show individual stuff. So I'm just going to have to kind of go off of memory, but 131 I know we doubled up with 125, as you can see there. This is showing sold to close. So sorry I'm not showing actual ones, but I have to kind of go on memory. When all is said and done, off the top of my head, we had like 33-ish dollars. After you add in both the 131s and where we doubled up and where we closed off the 131s and added 125s, or excuse me, and we kept on the 125s and we had short calls. As I did my math earlier, we're roughly around 30-ish dollars, 32-ish to 35, around that neighborhood. So $33 of we made up. Of the downward movement. And I'm sure Kevin will come back in Thursday and correct all my math and make it look beautiful and pretty and show me how much more wonderful it could have been said. But going off of those numbers, falling from 140 all the way down to, you know, the bottom of 85. Obviously, we're not trying to outguess where it was going to bottom, but we still had protection on it that period of time. Just going off of where we cashed it in around here at 96, 97. So hundreds of shares, all of that. If clients had some around upwards of 500, we added a couple hundred, upwards of a few thousand. We added 300 or 400. Everyone below, we added 100. So we added roughly 20-ish % more shares, all working for us as it goes all the way back up. Without having to come up with more money. Let me say this in a different way. Without having to come up with more money to dollar cost average. So what would it have taken, I wonder, to add 100 more shares? Obviously around 9,600, obviously. We did it, all paid for by puts. I think that's pretty cool. That is a much better way, I should say, a much stronger way to dollar cost average than having to come up with more money. But what's our key? The best way to manage long-term investing in stocks is to dollar cost average. All forms of dollar cost averaging are good. Collar trading to dollar cost average is superior. Because not only do you not have to come up with more money, obviously you have to have some cash to be able to buy the protection, buy the puts in the first place. But to have the amount of strength in how we dollar cost average, you would have had to have much more cash to have to throw into an account or find somewhere, whereas we had it already there and didn't need to come up with it. Guys, I hope that is starting to resonate for you. We'll get an opportunity. We've done it with, you've seen on Baidu recently, and you've heard Kevin talk about, that we're nibbling, and that's kind of the same thing that I would suggest you look at if you're trying to decide how to invest or trade in this stock market. Dollar cost averaging is key, because guess what? We can't outguess the stock market. Can't outguess where things are going to go. You have to wait to kind of confirm it. You've got to either have some stuff on the sidelines to give you a chance to leg in, to give you a chance to lower your cost basis. But the best way to do it, even if it's an account that you regularly contribute to, let's say it's an IRA and you max that IRA out or whatever it is, you still have to rely on dollar cost averaging, and you still have to be able to do it to a larger degree than just putting in, a little bit of cash here and there every month. It just isn't going to cut it compared to a collar trade where you can dollar cost average, not only without coming up with extra cash, but to a higher degree, and you have 20% more shares, or you could have 30% more shares, or whatever the case is, all shares that are not just lowering your cost basis, but giving you a chance to be profitable sooner and be profitable at a much lower price. This is how you grow a portfolio long term without hoping that the stock market always goes up. Because if there's anything that we've learned the last month or two, it just doesn't always go up. And even if you're like us and it's a black swan that kind of gave everybody a surprise, it surprised us, we kind of had to chase it down, we're much better off than just having sat through or hoped that the few thousand that we could contribute to a retirement account was going to be enough to dollar cost average in a meaningful way. So I hope you guys, I hope that's starting to resonate with you guys. I see a bunch of questions. I'm sorry I can't see them. I'm sorry if you had some awesome thoughts or ideas. I'm not in a position to be able to see those, as I had to log in and Kevin had to make me the presenter. And I don't want to make him transfer questions and thoughts over again. But guys, I really appreciate you guys listening to me. I've rambled on a little bit. I really appreciate the support and your thoughts and ideas. I hope this gives you more to think about. I think it's okay to be optimistic that maybe we have found a bottom, but please leave some room where if we just aren't going to guess right, and if we're not quite there at the bottom, you have something to put you in a place to be profitable at a lower price or a better price down the road, where we're really looking at, if we're looking at just the year, probably not going to be, if we're completely honest, until after an election, where if President Trump gets reelected, everything starts to take off. So those are my thoughts. Really appreciate you guys. Sorry I can't answer any thoughts or questions you might have right here at the end, but that's it for me. I hope I've given you something to think about, and you guys take care. Have a good evening.